What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. This is Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 7, Shiva. This is the mid-season finale. And ultimately, I think the show suffers from rushing it too much. I know that sounds weird, but ultimately, if you don't have enough time to develop characters, to develop plot storylines, you really run the risk of rushing a lot of emotion. And that's what happened in this episode. Everything that happened with Nick and with Celia, her corrupting his mind, making him think like she does, all of that had to take place within these last two episodes. So it's like, done. It doesn't work out very well. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel right. And I really wish they would extend the seasons, like, a few episodes at least, just so we could actually develop these characters. Because honestly, the show still has not really gotten down a main plot yet. And I've talked about this before, how the show needs to figure out what it wants to do. Because it's not The Walking Dead, it's not a survival show. We very clearly established that. But at the same time, it's not really anything else right now. It's not discovering where this virus came from. It's not a romance. It's not an adventure. It's just this family doing stuff. And it's not enough for me to be just something. You have to actually decide, we're going to be this type of show. This is the story we're trying to tell. It's not going to be The Walking Dead. It's not going to be this family surviving. We're actually going to tell a story here. But they don't know what the story is yet, and that's clear because it's so all over the place. It's just, the tone is mixed. The characters make weird decisions sometimes, and it really shows. And I hate to say it, because ultimately I want this show to do something different, but it's just kind of doing general stuff. It's not doing anything interesting. There's a lot of just filler in this episode that they're just like, okay, so we need all of this stuff to happen before we can start the next half of the season. You've got Travis going after Chris. Ultimately, he finds him and then decides to stay with him out there in the wild. Just like, what? Like, what? Where does that come from? Like, he finally finds his son, and his son's like, I don't want to go back with you. So instead of just letting him go, he's like, oh yeah, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to help him out. You can't help him. You already tried to help him, and he turned you down several times. So he's now out there with Chris. You've got Strand is about to be kicked out of this little colony because the main woman thinks that walkers are not dead. She thinks that they are just rebirths of themselves. And so the fact that Victor killed Tom in the last episode really pisses her off. And so now she's trying to kick him out, but then Nick brings her son, which I guess he kept his walker alive on the boat for some reason. But he brings her son, Walker, and that convinces her to let Maddie and her family stay, but not Victor. So that was just kind of weird. Like I said, the whole thing with Nick, he's now kind of feeling, first of all, he feels immortal in this world. He feels like he can't die. So I thought ultimately they were just setting up for him to die, but not yet apparently. But yeah, it's just his whole transformation into thinking like this colony does, that, oh, you just don't understand. These people are not dead. They're just different. Which I think part of the reason why I hate this so much is because of how frustrating it is that all these people nowadays are like, oh, we're people too. And it's just like, we're trying to make, like, how many different genders now? And so it feels like that's what this show is sort of putting out there, that, hey, walkers are people too. We have to think like... I'm just like, what? Are we actually going this route? Route. I don't know why I say route. It's route. Anyway. But yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of weird how they were doing that. And then ultimately probably the best part of this episode for me, because is the only interesting character on the show right now. Daniel is still suffering from some sort of psychotic break, um, having to do. We find out in this episode that the kid being choked that we saw in his flashback in the last episode is actually him. We see a lot of flashbacks for him. He had to shoot a guy at a very young age, and he's having those voices in his head again. He is talking a lot of nonsense, to everybody. He has a dream where he's trying to get Ophelia out, and then all of a sudden she's like, and starts pulling off her skin, and so you can see that he's clearly losing it. And ultimately, it comes to a moment where he's trying to get Ophelia out to see their mom, or see her mom. And then these people try to stop him. He takes out this little thing that he sharpened and then cuts the guy on the side of the face. They take him into a prison cell, which the only problem I have with this is that Ophelia asked to see her father, and Celia's like, no, you're not allowed. I'm just like, hang on, is she like supposed to be a dictator here? Like, who are you to say she can't see her father? It's not like you run this place. If it is, then we become way too much like The Walking Dead here, because nobody should be running a place on their own with no... That shouldn't be happening just yet. We're not that far into the apocalypse to where somebody is in complete control of something yet. Anyway, but that was the only issue I had with this storyline. We get to see Daniel. He's tied up to a chair. Celia's bringing him food, and she's having a talk with him, saying, I can see that you're hurting. I can see that you're in pain. Confess your sins. And he hears a voice saying pretty much similar stuff in his head. She leaves, and then his wife is standing there. I think. I just want to make sure this is actually his wife. Because if it's not, I'm going to look like an idiot. Yeah, that was her. Okay. Just want to make sure. So yeah, she's standing there, and he's, talking to her, talking about, how he didn't bury her, and he's like, I couldn't find you, and I searched, and ultimately you can see that the thought of her is making him feel guilty, and then the thought of all these other people that he's killed are also making him feel guilty, and what it leads to is he breaks himself out. We have a moment where Maddie locks Celia inside of the little dungeon she has for the walkers, which I think we all saw that coming from a mile away. And then Daniel goes into that dungeon with a lighter and oil or gasoline, and just burns the whole place down, like everything. And it's not really clear if he died or not, because he did like a little, line of gasoline and then a little puddle. And then as the walkers drew near, he threw the lighter down. And he was actually standing over like a line of fire. So whether he stayed there while it all burned down or whether he left before it did, we don't really get to see. We just see a lot of fire, and then it cuts to another scene. So he may still be alive. I kind of hope he is, just because he's my favorite character. He's the only one with any real character growth, to be honest. The rest of the group just seems like they're, like they're all sort of staying the same. Well, Chris has become crazy now, but yeah, I don't really like anybody else in the group. Everybody else has something about them that makes me want to smack the crap out of them. So I want to see Daniel kept on, and maybe we'll get to see his great escape in the next half of the season. Don't know. But yeah, the way it ends is also very strange. Like they're all getting into Strand's truck as they're leaving, and then Nick is walking up, and Maddie sees him, and instead of like calling out to him or going to grab him, she just kind of stands there and stares while Alicia's in the truck like, come on, let's go, we need to go right now. And that happens for like a full minute as they're coming very slowly to get them. And then Maddie gets to Nick, and he's just like, Celia was right. We are just going to destroy stuff. I'm just like, what? Like, you don't even know what happened. the choices of some of these characters really do piss me off. Like, I just don't understand some of the choices they make. They don't make any logical sense. And it's frustrating to me because it's supposed to feel natural. It's supposed to feel like this is something that could actually happen. That's what was so awesome about the first season. You know, the first season wasn't spectacular or anything, but as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, you know, I can see all this happening right now. You know, it felt natural. It felt like if this apocalypse started right now, this is what would happen. The Walking Dead has lost a lot of that because they're several years into an apocalypse. You know, they're not acting like we would be right now. That's what the show did in the first season. Now, throughout this entire second season so far, it's felt so strange. It's felt like they've been living out here for years, and now they're like, their minds are changed, and they're just like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And from what I hear, it's only been like a few weeks since what happened in the first season. You know, so you really think about that. A few weeks in, and people are already going crazy. People are already making strange decisions. They're already deciding, I'm in charge of this place and I'm running this place. It doesn't make any sense, and the show needs to get that back because it's not a survival show, but it's not doing anything right. You know, it's making choices like it is a survival show, and that doesn't make any sense. And it's making me feel like I'm not making any sense because it's so hard to explain, and it's frustrating. It's giving me a headache that I already have. Ultimately, I'm frustrated. You know, I enjoy parts of these episodes. I've enjoyed parts of this first half of the season, but other parts I'm just smacking my forehead and going, why are you doing such stupid stuff? Why can't you figure this out? Why can't you make decisions that actually make sense? What's wrong with you? So anyway, all in all, average episode. Good stuff with Daniel, weird stuff with some of the other characters. But the setup's pretty good, I guess. You know, we don't really know what's going to happen now. It feels like they're kind of looking for a place to find a safe haven from all that's going on. Whereas in The Walking Dead, whenever they were looking for a place, it's like, we're looking for a place to settle down. Here, it feels like they're just sort of, okay, we need to find a safe place. So it is different in that aspect. I really hope they do go on some sort of mission, you know, have some sort of set goal. So it doesn't just become like we're going to go here. Oh, this place not safe. Okay, we're going to go here. Oh, that's not safe. Oh, we're going to go over here. That's just going to get really old. It's going to start to feel like The Walking Dead again. And, yeah. I really hope the second half of the season gets better. So, those are my thoughts on this episode. Let me know what you thought of it down below. If there's anything that I missed that you want to discuss, let me know. We can discuss it. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fear the Walking Dead, and I will see you through the next review. Peace out.